this work of art um, started everything. I don't know whether to be proud of this or not. The very first thing I ever prompted with Midjourney was actually this. And it is Kevin Bacon cooking bacon. But there's definitely a lot of other people that did the same thing. You know what I mean? They were like, look at all this bacon that Kevin Bacon needs to be baconing. Look at all that bacon. So, here's the thing. I know that for a couple folks that might hop in here who are on the other art streams and stuff are going to be like, wait, this guy's not drawing, he's doing generative stuff, ew. Like, I get it, but understand that one of the reasons why this is going to, you know, change how we look at social media and everything else is simply because of this. It's everything's public with Midjourney. Like, you have to pay for you know, a higher tier to get the unpublished button. So that means that as soon as Midjourney goes live, in terms of being a public web app that you can freely search through, it's probably going to be a social media site that lets you just have access to millions and millions and millions and millions of generated imagery to use as you wish, because there's no copyright or anything attached to these pictures. So yeah, I think that that's going to be far more disruptive than people are expecting, and I appreciate that I'm giving this warning with a bunch of Kevin Bacon's eating bacon in the background. That's perfect. The thing is that as I was just kind of throwing words at the machine and kind of hoping for the best on these images, they're all nonsense. Just chaos. Like, none of it really made much sense. When it did make sense, like when there was stuff that was usable and stuff, like it was something to celebrate by comparison. So this was filling up hard drives and just generally being you know, kind of wasted in terms of like, if you look at it as I'm trying to get something done and make things, like, yes, this is a massive waste of time. There's nothing usable about these pictures. Like, they are just gobbledygook, you know, pixels making, you know, filling up hard drives, right? Again, none of this stuff's really that usable. This is generative art. It's not real art, fake art, really, because I don't have any control over these images whatsoever. I'm just throwing words at the machine and hoping for the best. The thing is that as we go on, I mean, this is only early July, as we go on, that changes. My ability to manipulate and control the images becomes much more closer to a tool than a toy as we keep going here. But there's just all sorts of weird, wonky stuff that really is not all that interesting, so I'm not going to delve a bunch of time into it. But if we just kind of jump to, say, January, we see already a dramatic improvement in the continuity and form of characters. There's still a lot of AI wonkiness in terms of like fingers and all that kind of stuff, but we were getting like completed scenes. We didn't have any more advanced tools yet, which we'll get into and start playing around with here in a minute. But just 6 months later, we were almost, you know, graphic novel quality, and there was all sorts of like cinematic elements that we were able to pretty quickly incorporate. This was actually my Killer Clowns comic that was making fun of Andrew Tate, because he's a douchebag, and this was the closest thing I could generate at the time to an Andrew Tate. Yeah, that's fun. Greta Thunberg, trying to turn her into an anime kind of superhero and whatnot, and that was a lot of fun. Like, I had a lot of fun making this one, and it kind of blew up on Reddit. So that was pretty cool to see. But it largely got the attention because I think people recognized the people faster than they recognized that it was AI imagery. Like they were like, oh, that's supposed to be Greta Thunberg, and that's supposed to be, Andrew Tate. That's funny. Wait, this is all AI generated. I don't like it. Like there was a moment of doubt or a moment of disbelief. Let's just put it like that. A moment of disbelief. When it came to appreciating my stuff. There's I consider it a very high half-life with AI imagery before people go, oh, it's generated, and then they ditch it as if the pixels don't matter. Like I get it. It's not something that I take personally, but it is something that the craft that goes into the actual comics and such. This is what it looks like raw. It's just a bunch of smattering of pictures, and you hope for the best when it comes to what like your goals are, but the actual control of the imagery and such, that is entirely based on workflow. That is a method I've called Movie Machine, where we're essentially layering images on top of each other in a way that gives us control. And we'll get into that, but I do want to say that in the comments for this, somebody was like, I don't like that this is generated or something like that. And they were like, I forgot the exact, complaint or criticism they were giving me, but they were talking about political cartoons. And I was like, I responded with this, when I replaced the text by saying like, oh, all right, man, that's whatever floats your boat, kind of just being a sad old man. And the response was, oh god, political cartoonists are dead. Like, that was the immediate comment and upvote to that, and I think that drove some engagement and attention. So kind of interesting that this one little comic this one panel would do that. But the thing is that, like, there's also so much horror show elements. Like, I mean, really? Like, a live action Musk Clown? Like, some of these were pretty funny for what we were doing, what the goal of that comic was. But the thing is that if as we keep going here, like, this is essentially a peek behind the curtain. So if we go to, like, the absolute newest stuff here, I'm just blown away with the level of quality of realism that we're getting out of this stuff. This is from an unreleased panel that will be coming out soon, and I'm super stoked to see this all kind of come together. Personally, anyway, like, I'm very leaning on the idea of getting more, or at least slowly introducing live action comics to people, and I know that that's something that makes people very uncomfortable right now, because you're like, who is that person? Like, it's not a real person. It's a generated person. Yeah, they're not gonna like that. I've learned. They want to follow real people. Like, they actually do want to follow Chris Pratt on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, I can't really sympathize with that in any way. But yeah, anyway, like, in terms of what we're able to do with the new tools and such, it essentially lets us be able to pan, zoom, and control the output that we get, as well as mix my Movie Machine workflow